welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in today. My name is Ashlee Greene. For those of you who don't know, I am Coach Brittany's older sister. I am currently a PhD student finishing up my studies at University of Pittsburgh in chemical engineering. So I spend all day working in the lab as a scientist. So I thought it'd be really cool today as I'm staying home to be safe and as you're staying home to be safe, just to do a couple of experiments with things that you might have around the house. So if you weren't on earlier, I gave a little introduction to the things that we're going to need. So right now would be a good time to get those things together. So I have a couple of glasses here. I have 4 empty glasses. If you only have 3 glasses, that's okay. If you have 5 or 6, that's also okay. I have a pitcher of water here. And optionally, I also have some food coloring that we'll be dropping in just to make things look a little prettier. For our second experiment, we'll also need some vegetable oil. I have some baking soda and vinegar. You can use regular white vinegar, but I actually have apple cider vinegar, and that's good enough. And last but not least, some dish soap. Doesn't matter what brand of dish soap you have. If you don't have dish soap, you can also use either hair conditioner or hair shampoo along with some cornstarch. And if you don't have cornstarch, flour will also be okay. And to wrap things up, I also have some measuring instruments. So I have a 1 cup measure, I have a 1 teaspoon measure, and a 1 tablespoon measure that I'll be using to measure out things, just to make sure you get everything exactly as we need it. So if you are all ready to get started, as I mentioned, my name is Ashlee Greene. I want to welcome you today for our science experiments on what happens to also be Earth Day. And so the first experiment that we're going to do is we are going to create a water xylophone. So a water xylophone being a xylophone just like maybe what you have used in your music class, but we're going to make it out of water. So I know some of you are going to say, hey, wait a second. This is supposed to be science, not music class, right? But actually, the two are actually related. And I'm going to show you in just a minute how. So the first step is that you want to line up your glasses here. Again, I have 4 different glasses. And what we're going to do, we're just going to take our pitcher of water, and we're just going to pour different amounts of water into each glass. So in this first glass, I'm just going to pour a little bit. This second glass, I'm going to pour a little bit more. The third glass, even more. Last drop. And in our last glass, or in my last glass, I'm going to pour almost to the top. Now, if you're at home, if you only have 3 glasses, that's okay. Just make sure that they all just have different amounts of water in them. If you have more than 4 glasses, that's also okay. You'll have more sound to play with, and just make sure you fill them up with different amounts of water. And so what you are going to see here is that as I fill them up with water, they actually produce different pitches of sound. And that's because as we tap on it, you can use a knife, you can use the back of a pencil if that's all you have. As you tap on it, the sound waves that are produced by this instrument are traveling through the water. But with different amounts of water, it either is really hard or it's really easy for the sound to travel through. So the easier it is, the higher the pitch. The harder it is, the lower the pitch. Okay? And so what's really cool about this is that you can even start using it as your own instrument. So you can do different variations of sound and play with it as you like. So one extra step I'm going to take technique here, just to make things a little bit more fun, I'm just going to put a couple drops of food coloring into my water. So I'm just going to 1, 2. It's not going to affect the pitch at all. It's just going to make it look a little bit prettier. 2. Green. And last, I'm going to do some blue. All right. Just going to mix up. And like that. And now our water xylophone is complete. And just to give you guys a little bit of example of the type of fun that you can have at home, I'm going to play a little song for you guys, and I want you guys to try and guess what song it is. Here's you guys can also join in. You guys can do it one more time. Let's try it one more time. All right, so if you guessed Baby Shark, that's exactly it. So I'm going to play it one more time for you guys. And there you go, that's Baby Shark. So you too can do this at home with your water xylophone. So depending on the amount of water, it'll determine the pitch of your musical instrument. So again, the most amount of water gives you a lower pitch, and the least amount of water gives you a higher pitch. And that's our water xylophone. So we're just going to move our xylophone over to the side. Feel free, if that's all you want to do today, you just want to play your water xylophone and you just want to make songs, feel free to do it. But I'm just going to move it over to the side for now. So for our next experiment, we are going to take some vegetable oil, some vinegar, baking soda, and just a glass. Now, it doesn't have to be a glass for this. It can be a plastic bottle, it can be a container, just anything that you can actually just see through so you can actually see what's happening. And the most important part for this is to first understand what happens when water and oil is put together. So for this, I'm just going to take my pitcher of water again. This is just for demonstration, but you guys can also follow along. I'm going to pour a little bit of water into this glass. So here we have our water. But next I'm going to take my vegetable oil, and we're going to see what happens when we mix the water with the vegetable oil. So if you can see, you get those bubbles of the oil on top. So the oil goes into the water, and then it just comes right back up to the top. So even now you can see that I have a floating layer of oil. And that's because oil and water just don't mix. And you can think of this as, let's say, for example, you're in a crowded space and you're around people that you don't know, and you have to hold onto your parent's hand, you have to hold onto your family member's hand just so you can make it through. That's the same thing that the water and oil is doing, right? So the oil wants to stick together with the oil, the water wants to stick together with the water. And on this Earth Day today, this is actually important to remember because, for example, when we have oil spills in the ocean, the oil actually just sits on top of the ocean water, which can actually be really dangerous because the oil is not only sticky, but that means that any fish that are swimming around at the bottom, they can get stuck in the oil. Any animals that are around the surface and they need to come up to get air, they actually can't reach the air. So this is what happens when you have an oil spill in the ocean. So with this idea in mind of water and oil not being able to mix, we are going to do something really, really cool, okay? First step will be to take our empty glass and we are going to take our baking soda and we're just going to measure out 2 tablespoons of baking soda. So I'm just going to put this in here. It's 1 tablespoon. It's okay if you do a little bit extra. I spilled a little bit, but that's fine. And all we're going to do, we're just going to shake the glass just so that we kind of have a flat layer of the baking soda. It doesn't have to be exact, it just has to be kind of flat. And our next step is we're going to take our 1 cup measure. And we are going to pour 1 cup of vegetable oil. And I'll give you one little trick. When you're adding in the vegetable oil, you actually might want to tilt your glass just so that you don't get the oil mixing completely with the baking soda. So I'm just going to tilt my glass to the side. And you can see the oil filling up on top of the baking soda. Okay. So now what you should be able to see is that most of the baking soda is down at the bottom and we have our oil layer right here at the top. Now for the last step, we're going to take our vinegar. So any type of vinegar works. Again, I have apple cider vinegar, but if you have regular white vinegar at home, that also works. And for this step here, I'm actually just going to add a little bit of food coloring just to make it a little bit more fun. So I am going to measure out just 1 drop of my food coloring, 1 or 2 drops. And to that food coloring, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of our vinegar. This is just 1 teaspoon. So now I have my vinegar with my food coloring. Make sure you watch closely what happens next. So I'm going to pour the vinegar into the top of the oil. You're going to see little dots. And they're going to drop down to the bottom because remember, the water is heavier than the oil. So the oil will be on the top, the water wants to be on the bottom. But what's really cool about this is that we're actually creating a chemical reaction. So the vinegar, when it comes into contact with the baking soda, creates carbon dioxide. So it's just like the bubbles of gas that you have in your soda. And so when those bubbles of gas rise up to the top, because they're so light, they get to the top, the gas is released, and then the vinegar floats back down to the bottom. Isn't that so cool? Do you guys see this? So you can see there are some small bubbles, there are some big bubbles. There you can see them dropping down again. And there you have it, your own DIY lava lamp. So this will last for almost 10 minutes or so, but when it stops fizzing, you can hear it fizz. So that's just all the bubbles from the carbon dioxide again, just like the sound that your soda would make. That just means that the reaction is going. But when it stops, you can just load it up again by adding a little bit more vinegar. And that's your DIY lava lamp. So again, if the lava lamp is all you want to focus on today, feel free to just keep loading up with your vinegar. But for now, I'm just going to set everything else to the side. Okay, so now last but not least, I have one more experiment for you guys. If you guys have still been sticking in, thank you so much. And I have one more thing. We are going to make some Play-Doh. So this will require a bowl with a spoon, our dish soap, any type of dish soap works, and some cornstarch. If you don't have cornstarch, flour is also going to work really well. And all we're going to do for this is that we're going to take our tablespoon measuring, and we are going to add in 2 tablespoons of our dish soap. So mix 1. And this makes 2. Okay. And now, in addition to our 2 tablespoons of dish soap, we are going to do 4 tablespoons, so 4 of these spoons of our cornstarch. I'm just going to wipe this off so I can use the same measuring spoon. So again, you're just going to take your cornstarch. We're going to do 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. 1, 2, 3, and last one, 4. And so this is what your bowl is going to look like. You're going to have your cornstarch. You're going to have your dish soap, and you're just going to mix it up as best as you can. So you're just going to want to stir it around, mix it up. You're just going to keep mixing, just keep mixing. And if it's too wet, feel free to add more cornstarch. But if you notice that it's too dry, just add some more dish soap. And this is a really quick and easy way to not only get Play-Doh, but to also have something that parents will clean your kids' hands. So we're just going to keep mixing this. As you can see, mine is kind of really well clumped together. So it's basically there. So for this step, if you have anything on your hands, rings or anything, take those off because it's going to get a little messy. But we're just going to scoop it out of our bowl, and we're just going to start squeezing it between our fingers. Okay, and that's just going to help everything to mix together. This dough is really cool because we not only have the dish soap, but we have the cornstarch. And your cornstarch and your flour, for those of you that cook in the kitchen, you know, your cornstarch and your flour can be used as a thickener. And this dough actually works really well because there are already ingredients in your dish soap that not only act as a thickener, but act to help things mix better together. So as you can see, this is already starting to come together for me. You can see that here. So you're just going to keep rolling that around. And the more that you work with it, the smoother it'll get. So again, if your dough doesn't look like that, like this, that's okay. If it's too dry, just add a little bit more dish soap. If it's too wet, feel free to add more cornstarch or add more flour. So we'll just roll this around. And there you go. There's your dough. And you can play with this for almost up to a day before it gets too dry. You can always add more dish soap, or you can always just throw it away. The really neat thing about this is that because it already has soap in it, when you go to wash your hands, so you don't want to, like kids, you don't want to touch your eyes or touch your mouth while your hands have your Play-Doh on it. But when you do go to wash your hands, because it already has soap on it, just run it right underneath the water and it'll start soaping right up. So here you can already see I have my dough. I can go ahead and make a little, do my best to make a little snowman for you guys. Let's see. Do one big ball, set that there. Do like a medium size ball. Set that one right on top. We'll do like a small one. Right on top. And there's my little snowman. Isn't that pretty neat? All right. So those are the 3 experiments that I had planned for you guys. I hope you guys had as much fun doing this as I did. Parents, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it down into the chat. I can always respond to it later. Maybe your experiment didn't come out so well, or maybe you have additional questions. I'm always happy and open to answering them for you. So that concludes science experiments with Dr. Ashlee, or soon to be Dr. Ashlee. And I hope you guys continue to stay safe and have fun with science. Take care.